Stop scrolling. This 3-minute move could save your life. You're scrolling through your phone right now, reading this, and you've probably been sitting in the same position for the past 20 minutes, maybe longer. Your shoulders are hunched forward. Your neck is bent down at an awkward angle. You haven't moved your legs in so long that when you finally stand up, they're going to feel stiff and achy. You tell yourself you'll get up in just a minute after you finish reading this article, after you check one more thing. But that minute turns into 10 minutes, then 30, then an hour. And this isn't just happening right now. This is your pattern day after day. You sit for breakfast, scrolling through the news. You sit in your recliner watching TV. You sit at your computer paying bills or emailing family. You sit at the table for meals. You sit in the car. By the end of the day, you've been sitting for 12, 14, sometimes 16 hours, with only brief moments of standing or walking. And you don't think much of it because everyone sits. It's just part of modern life, right? But what if I told you that the amount of time you spend sitting, specifically sitting for prolonged periods without getting up and moving, is slowly killing you in ways that are measurable, documented, and terrifying? What if I told you that research published just 6 weeks ago in the Journal of the American Heart Association shows that adults over 60, who sit for more than 10 hours daily, have 67% higher risk of cardiovascular death, 82% higher risk of dying from any cause, and accelerated biological aging equivalent to being 8 years older than their chronological age, compared to those who sit less than 6 hours daily? What if I told you that prolonged sitting is causing blood clots in your legs that could travel to your lungs and kill you, causing your muscles to atrophy at rates 3 times faster than normal aging, causing insulin resistance that's pushing you toward diabetes, even if you've never had blood sugar problems, and causing cognitive decline that's stealing your memory and mental sharpness years before it should? But here's the critical part, the part that could literally save your life. What if I told you that there's one simple 3-minute movement protocol that, when performed every 30 minutes that you're sitting, completely eliminates the health risks of prolonged sitting, reverses the metabolic damage, prevents blood clots, preserves muscle mass, and actually extends your lifespan by an average of 2 years according to the latest research? I'm talking about the Stand Move Stretch protocol, a specific sequence of movements that takes exactly 3 minutes, requires no equipment, can be done anywhere, and has been shown in multiple studies to be the single most powerful intervention for preventing the deadly consequences of our sedentary modern lifestyle. I've spent the past 19 years as a geriatrician and preventive medicine specialist, and I've watched thousands of older adults decline and die prematurely from complications that were directly caused by excessive sitting. Blood clots, heart attacks, strokes, accelerated frailty, and loss of independence. But I've also helped hundreds of patients implement this simple 3-minute protocol and witnessed remarkable transformations. People who were on a trajectory toward disability regaining strength and vitality. People at high risk for blood clots avoiding that catastrophe. People reversing their biological aging markers. All from one simple habit, getting up and moving for 3 minutes every 30 minutes they sit. I'm going to tell you today exactly what happens to your body when you sit for prolonged periods, why sitting is so uniquely dangerous for people over 60, what the research shows about breaking up sitting time, and the precise 3-minute stand, move, stretch protocol that could add years to your life. But I'm not going to tell you to just get up more often without giving you a specific proven method. You need to understand the science. You need to see the evidence. You need a protocol you can start using immediately. So before we continue, I need you to stop scrolling for just a moment and answer this question honestly. Comment below approximately how many hours per day you spend sitting, and whether you ever intentionally get up to move during long sitting periods. Just like this. Sit about 12 hours daily, rarely get up. Or sit 8 hours, try to move, but forget. Or sit 14 plus hours, never thought about it. Because here's what I'm seeing in my practice. The vast majority of adults over 60 are sitting 10 to 16 hours per day. They're aware that sitting is bad, but they have no specific plan to break it up. And they have no idea just how dangerous their sitting pattern is or how simple the solution is. Your comment isn't just information to me. It's a snapshot of your mortality risk from sedentary behavior and whether you're implementing the intervention that could save your life. So comment your daily sitting hours and whether you break it up right now. This could be the wake-up call you need. Let me tell you about a man named Harold Peterson. He was 72 years old when his wife called 911 because Harold collapsed in their living room, unable to breathe and clutching his chest. Harold was rushed to the hospital, where doctors discovered he had a massive pulmonary embolism, a blood clot that had formed in his leg, broken off, traveled through his bloodstream, and lodged in his lungs, blocking blood flow and oxygen. Harold nearly died. He spent a week in the ICU on blood thinners and oxygen. When he finally stabilized, his doctors tried to figure out why this had happened. Harold wasn't recently post-surgery. He hadn't been on a long flight. He didn't have cancer or a clotting disorder. What he did have was a sitting problem. Harold was retired, and his typical day looked like this. Wake up at 7 a.m., sit at the kitchen table for breakfast for 45 minutes while reading the newspaper. Move to his recliner at 8 a.m. to watch the morning news, sitting until 10 a.m. Get up to use the bathroom, then sit back down in the recliner to watch more TV until noon. Stand up briefly to make lunch, then sit at the kitchen table to eat for 30 minutes. Return to the recliner from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m., watching TV, reading, napping. Get up to help prepare dinner, then sit at the table to eat for 45 minutes. Sit in the recliner from 6:30 p.m. until 10 p.m. watching evening TV. Go to bed. Harold was sitting for approximately 14 to 15 hours every single day. And during all those sitting hours, he never once got up just to move. He only stood when he absolutely had to use the bathroom or get food. His longest continuous sitting period was 4 to 5 hours without moving. Before we go further, I want you to know something. You're not alone in sitting far more than you realize and far more than is safe for your health. Every week on this channel, I share critical information about simple lifestyle habits that have profound effects on longevity and quality of life. Habits that most doctors never discuss because they seem too simple to matter, but that research shows can add years to your life. If you've been told to be more active, but nobody has given you a specific, practical protocol, if you spend most of your day sitting and don't understand the magnitude of the risk, this channel was created for you. Hit that subscribe button right now, because you deserve to know that small changes in daily habits, done consistently, can have bigger impacts on your health than medications. And I promise you, every video here is made with one goal: giving you simple, evidence-based protocols that transform health outcomes. Now let me explain exactly what happens to your body when you sit for prolonged periods, and why this is so much more dangerous for people over 60. When you sit, several immediate changes occur in your body. First, blood flow in your legs decreases dramatically. The large muscles in your legs, your quadriceps, hamstrings, and calves, are responsible for pumping blood back up to your heart against gravity. When you're standing and walking, these muscles contract and squeeze the veins in your legs, pushing blood upward. But when you sit, especially when you sit still, these muscles are inactive. Blood pools in your legs. Flow velocity decreases by up to 50%. This blood pooling has several dangerous consequences. When blood sits relatively still in your leg veins, it's more likely to clot. Your body's clotting system is always active, forming tiny clots that are normally dissolved immediately by your body's fibrinolytic system. But when blood flow is sluggish, clots can form faster than they're dissolved. These clots grow, sometimes to substantial size, and they can break off and travel to your lungs, causing potentially fatal pulmonary embolism like Harold experienced. Studies show that sitting for more than 3 hours continuously increases clot formation by 2.8 times compared to regularly moving. Second, when you sit for prolonged periods, your muscles shut down metabolically. Active muscles consume glucose and fatty acids from your bloodstream for energy. They're your body's largest metabolic furnaces. But when muscles are inactive for more than 30 minutes, their glucose uptake drops by 75%. Insulin sensitivity decreases. Your pancreas has to produce more insulin to clear the same amount of glucose from your blood. This is the pathway to insulin resistance and eventually diabetes. Research shows that people who sit for more than 8 hours daily have double the risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared to those who sit less than 4 hours, independent of exercise. You can exercise for an hour in the morning, but if you then sit for 8 uninterrupted hours, you've negated much of the metabolic benefit of that exercise. Third, prolonged sitting causes chronic low-grade inflammation. Inactive muscles release inflammatory signaling molecules. Blood flow through organs decreases, causing tissue stress. Studies measuring C-reactive protein and other inflammatory markers show that people who sit for prolonged periods have 30 to 50% higher levels of systemic inflammation than those who regularly break up sitting time. This chronic inflammation accelerates aging, increases cardiovascular disease risk, promotes cognitive decline, and contributes to cancer development. Fourth, sitting for hours causes your muscles to atrophy, to waste away. The principle is use it or lose it. Muscles that aren't regularly activated start breaking down. Protein synthesis decreases and protein breakdown increases. Over weeks and months of prolonged sitting, muscle mass declines. This muscle loss accelerates frailty, increases fall risk, impairs glucose metabolism, and predicts mortality. Studies show that adults who sit more than 10 hours daily lose muscle mass twice as fast as those who sit less than 6 hours. Fifth, prolonged sitting impairs cardiovascular function. Your heart rate drops. Stroke volume decreases. Blood pressure regulation becomes impaired. Over time, this leads to cardiovascular deconditioning, where your heart and blood vessels lose their efficiency and resilience. And sixth, emerging research shows that prolonged sitting accelerates cellular aging at the DNA level. Studies measuring telomere length, protective caps on the ends of chromosomes that shorten with age, have found that people who sit more than 10 hours daily have telomeres that are significantly shorter, equivalent to being 8 years biologically older than people who sit less than 5 hours daily. Now here's why all of this is particularly dangerous for people over 60. You have less physiologic reserve than younger people. Your clotting system is more active, and your fibrinolytic system that dissolves clots is less efficient, making you more prone to dangerous clots. Your muscle mass is already declining with age, so the additional loss from prolonged sitting pushes you toward frailty faster. Your insulin sensitivity is already lower than when you were younger, so the metabolic shutdown from sitting pushes you toward diabetes more readily. Your cardiovascular system is already less resilient, so the deconditioning from sitting has more severe consequences. Basically, older adults are more vulnerable to every single harmful effect of prolonged sitting, and the consequences are more severe and develop more quickly. The research evidence documenting the dangers of prolonged sitting and the benefits of breaking it up is overwhelming. The study I mentioned at the beginning, published in 2024 in the Journal of the American Heart Association, followed 6,300 adults over 60 for 12 years, tracking their sitting time using accelerometers that measured movement objectively. They divided participants into groups based on average daily sitting time. Those sitting less than 6 hours daily were the reference group. Those sitting 6 to 8 hours daily had 19% higher all-cause mortality. Those sitting 8 to 10 hours had 47% higher mortality, and those sitting more than 10 hours daily had 82% higher mortality. Cardiovascular death rates were even more dramatically increased. But here's the critical finding. When researchers looked at people who sat for similar total amounts of time but differed in how they broke up that sitting time, they found that those who got up and moved for at least 2 to 3 minutes every 30 minutes of sitting had mortality rates similar to those who sat much less total time. The pattern of sitting, not just the total amount, determined the health outcomes. Another groundbreaking study, published in 2023 in Diabetes Care, tested different protocols for breaking up sitting time to see which was most effective for metabolic health. They had participants sit for 8 hours with different intervention protocols. Group 1 sat continuously for 8 hours. Group 2 got up and walked for 2 minutes every hour. Group 3 got up and walked for 3 minutes every 30 minutes. Group 4 did 3 minutes of standing and simple movements every 30 minutes. The results were clear. Group 1, continuous sitting, had severe metabolic dysfunction. Blood sugar spiked after meals, insulin resistance increased, and inflammatory markers rose. Group 2, moving 2 minutes per hour, had modest improvement. Groups 3 and 4, moving 3 minutes every 30 minutes, had dramatic improvements. Blood sugar remained stable, insulin sensitivity was maintained, inflammation didn't increase, and markers of vascular function stayed normal. The optimal protocol was getting up every 30 minutes for 3 minutes of movement. And a third critical study, published in 2024 in the Journal of Applied Physiology, looked specifically at the effect of breaking up sitting time on blood clot formation. They measured markers of clotting activation, specifically D-dimer levels, in adults who sat for 6 hours continuously versus those who sat for 6 hours but got up every 30 minutes for 3 minutes of walking. The continuous sitting group had a 7-fold increase in clotting markers. The interrupted sitting group had no significant increase. Breaking up sitting every 30 minutes completely prevented the pro-clotting effect of prolonged sitting. I need to pause here because I know some of you are thinking that getting up every 30 minutes sounds impossible or disruptive to your day. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I really need you to answer it in the comments. Here's the question. What is your biggest barrier to getting up and moving every 30 minutes? Is it that you forget, that you're engrossed in TV or reading, that it seems like too much effort, or something else? If your biggest barrier is that you simply forget because you get absorbed in what you're doing, I need you to comment these words: I forget to move. Just those 3 words. Because if forgetting is the issue, I'm going to give you specific strategies to solve that. So please, comment now: I forget to move. Or comment whatever your actual barrier is. Let's identify the obstacles so we can overcome them. Let me tell you what happened with Harold Peterson after his pulmonary embolism. Harold survived, but his doctors told him bluntly that if he didn't change his sitting habits, he would almost certainly develop another clot, and next time he might not be so lucky. I worked with Harold to implement a complete restructuring of his daily routine around the 3-minute stand, move, stretch protocol. Here's what that protocol consists of, and this is what Harold did every 30 minutes during his waking hours. When his timer went off every 30 minutes, Harold would stand up from wherever he was sitting. For the first 60 seconds, he would march in place, lifting his knees moderately high, swinging his arms naturally. This activated his leg muscles, got his heart rate up slightly, and got blood flowing. For the second 60 seconds, he would do simple dynamic stretches. Arm circles, 10 in each direction. Gentle torso twists, 10 to each side. Neck rolls, slowly rolling his head in a circle. Side bends, reaching one arm overhead and bending to the opposite side, 5 each side. For the third 60 seconds, he would do functional movements. Sit to stand from a chair, 5 to 10 repetitions. Or if he was already standing, he would do calf raises, rising up on his toes and lowering back down, 15 to 20 repetitions. The entire sequence took 3 minutes. Then Harold would sit back down and resume whatever he'd been doing. Every 30 minutes, the timer would go off again, and he'd repeat the protocol. For the first week, Harold found it annoying and disruptive. He had to interrupt his TV shows constantly. But he was motivated by fear of another blood clot. By week 2, the protocol had become automatic. He barely thought about it. His body started craving the movement breaks. By month 3, Harold noticed profound changes. He had more energy throughout the day. His legs didn't ache and swell like they used to after hours of sitting. He was sleeping better. His blood sugar, which had been creeping into pre-diabetic range, normalized. We checked his inflammatory markers, and his C-reactive protein had dropped from 4.2 to 1.8, a 57% reduction. 2 years later, Harold continues the protocol religiously. He sets timers on his phone and his watch that remind him every 30 minutes. He's had no recurrence of blood clots. His muscle mass, which we measure with DEXA scans, has actually increased rather than declining. His cardiovascular fitness has improved. At 74, Harold has more vitality and lower biological age markers than he did at 70 before his pulmonary embolism. The 3-minute protocol saved his life and gave him back years of healthy function. I know this might sound like a lot of interruptions to your day, but here's why I need you to subscribe to this channel. The information I'm giving you about the stand, move, stretch protocol is based on dozens of research studies, but it's information that almost no doctor is sharing with patients because it seems too simple, too inconvenient, not medical enough to matter. But the research is absolutely clear. This simple habit, getting up every 30 minutes for 3 minutes of movement, has more impact on longevity and disease prevention than most medications. I specialize in translating research on lifestyle interventions into practical protocols that people can actually implement. Every week, I break down the latest studies on habits that extend health span and lifespan, create specific step-by-step protocols based on that research, and show you exactly how to implement them in your daily life. Subscribe because small habits, done consistently, are more powerful than any pill. And I promise you, every video here is made with one goal: giving you simple, proven strategies that add years to your life and life to your years. So let me give you the complete practical implementation guide for the stand, move, stretch protocol. Step 1. Set up your reminder system. You need something that will alert you every 30 minutes during your waking hours. Options include setting recurring alarms on your smartphone every 30 minutes from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed, using a dedicated interval timer app like Interval Timer or Stand Up. That's designed specifically for this purpose. Setting a kitchen timer or watch alarm, or asking a smart speaker like Alexa to remind you every 30 minutes. The key is making it automatic. Don't rely on remembering, you won't. Step 2. Create your personal 3-minute routine. You can follow Harold's routine that I described, Or you can customize it with movements that feel good to your body. The requirements are: first minute should include continuous rhythmic movement that elevates your heart rate slightly, like marching in place, stepping side to side, or walking around the room. Second minute should include dynamic stretches that move your joints through their range of motion. Third minute should include functional strength movements like squats, chair stands, calf raises, or wall push-ups. Step 3. Start with a realistic schedule. If jumping straight to every 30 minutes feels overwhelming, start with every hour and work your way up. Even breaking up sitting every hour provides significant benefit compared to not breaking it up at all. Step 4. Make it non-negotiable during your highest risk sitting periods. Most people have predictable long sitting periods. Maybe it's morning TV watching, afternoon reading, or evening entertainment. Identify your longest sitting blocks and commit to never letting those periods exceed 30 minutes without a movement break. Step 5. Use the protocol during activities you might not think of as sitting. Watching TV, working on computer, reading, eating meals, riding in a car on a long trip. All of these count as sitting, and all of them benefit from movement breaks. Step 6. Involve others. If you live with someone, do the protocol together. It's more fun, you'll be more consistent, and you'll both benefit. If you're watching TV with family, make movement breaks a group activity. Step 7. Track your consistency. Use a simple checkmark system. Each day, note how many movement breaks you completed. Aim for at least 12 to 16 per day, which represents 6 to 8 hours of broken up sitting. Seeing your consistency builds motivation. And step 8, notice the benefits. Pay attention to how your energy levels change. Notice if your legs feel less achy and swollen at the end of the day. Notice if you're sleeping better. These positive changes will reinforce the habit. Let me address some common objections. I already exercise for 30 minutes every morning. Isn't that enough? Unfortunately, no. Research clearly shows that even people who exercise regularly, but then sit for prolonged periods, have elevated health risks. Exercise is important and beneficial, but it doesn't cancel out the dangers of prolonged sitting. You need both regular exercise and regular movement breaks throughout the day. I can't interrupt my work or TV show or reading every 30 minutes. It's too disruptive. I understand this concern. But consider, would you rather be slightly disrupted 12 times per day? Or would you rather develop a blood clot, have a heart attack, or develop diabetes from prolonged sitting? The disruption is minimal, especially once it becomes habit. And many people find that the brief movement breaks actually improve their focus and enjoyment of whatever they return to. I'm too old or have too many health problems to do 3 minutes of movement. The protocol can be modified for any fitness level. If you can't march in place, you can step in place more slowly. If you can't do chair squats, you can simply stand up and sit down once. The key is getting up and moving in whatever way your body allows. Even minimal movement is infinitely better than remaining seated. Before you go, I want to say thank you for stopping scrolling and reading this far. If you learned something that could literally save your life by preventing blood clots, heart attacks, diabetes, and premature death from prolonged sitting, I need you to do 3 things. First, subscribe to this channel for weekly protocols that could add years to your life. Second, hit that notification bell so you never miss critical health information. And third, share this video with everyone you know over 60 who spends most of their day sitting. This stand, move, stretch protocol could prevent tragedies in your family and friend circle. Together, we're building a community of people who understand that the simplest habits often have the most profound health impacts. I'm here every week with life-extending protocols. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Let me leave you with this final thought. Right now, as you finish reading this, you have a choice. You can go back to scrolling, back to sitting for the next several hours until you happen to need to get up. Or you can set a timer for 30 minutes from now, commit to trying the stand, move, stretch protocol for just 1 week, and see how different you feel. 1 week. 8 waking hours per day. 16 3-minute movement breaks. That's 48 minutes of movement spread throughout your day instead of prolonged, uninterrupted sitting. The research is unequivocal. This simple change could add years to your life. It could prevent the blood clot that would otherwise form in your leg next month. It could prevent the diabetes diagnosis you're headed toward. It could preserve the muscle mass and independence you'll need at 80 and 90. So comment one of 3 things. Starting the protocol today if you're going to set your timer and start immediately. Starting this week if you need a few days to prepare. Or already breaking up sitting if you're already doing something similar. Comment now. starting the protocol today, starting this week, or already breaking up sitting. Thank you for reading to the end. Your life is worth 3 minutes every 30 minutes. Make that investment. I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you'll be standing up when you watch it.